All right, guys, what's up? I just want to do another video sharing with you guys some of the process of what I do to warm up and do some daily sketch work. I got Mr. Skullhead right here. This is my Sorrowhead that I showed you guys before. Drink, because that's important. My son's toys all over the floor. What I'm thinking, I already had done some sketches today. These are from yesterday, before the video that I did yesterday. These were today. Some days are better than others. Obviously, whatever it was today, maybe it was just that I had 2 days in a row of doing decent head sketches. Felt a lot better today, getting some of these out. So I'm just playing around with some angles that I work a lot less often, like the top-down angle. Yeah, and a little note to myself, more fun equals better mood, better movement, right? Better movement of your hand. If you have more fun, you're gonna be in a better mood and you're probably gonna move better. And to make mistakes boldly instead of trying to be so finicky and make it perfect, because accuracy can kill the mood. Those are notes to myself. So I don't know what it was today, but when I was getting warmed up doing my little normal warm-up stuff, I just felt more gestural and I went in on that. So perspective reminder to myself, box falling through space, sequential. These are things that I do a lot when I'm just getting my hand moving. So let me set this up and maybe we'll get to a Proco timer. Maybe we'll do that. But my first priority is gonna be Mr. Half Flayed Skin Man and to do his mannequin turnaround. This again is another thing that I do on a normal basis. So I'm just gonna make a little spot up here to do some mannequin stuff. And then if I do the gesture quick sketch, I'll just bump onto a new page. All right, cool. So let's get to it. Move some stuff around. Hope you guys are sketching today as well, and I'm not just boring you to tears with me rambling while I go through my work. I think I'll do some live stream stuff if enough people want to engage. Maybe I can figure out how to do that from my iPad. Does everyone draw on traditional paper, or do you guys draw digitally? I wonder. I really like paper, and I like the size of the paper and using my whole arm to do stuff so much more than just doing just thumbnail stuff. Although, you know, I say that, and no matter what I do over time, I like doing the opposite too, because there's nothing that gives you good perspective like doing something one way and then doing the polar opposite of that thing. And that's something that I've learned throughout my entire life through most of the training disciplines that I've done, that I have the propensity to overdo something if I lock myself into one method. So again, you're gonna see me jump around doing stuff because I have done this so much that I can finagle this from memory. But I'm gonna check, I'm gonna check my work with my reference right here, because this is my little cheat sheet when I'm doing this. But so you can see, like, when I'm laying down this mannequin, I have a general idea of where the proportions are gonna go and how I'm playing this out. Today I happen to be playing it out for whatever reason, probably because I'm distracted talking to you guys. I just played it off the head and neck, so I got most of the detail up here, but a lot of times I'll lay out the entire body one piece at a time. I guess it's kind of nice. I'm realizing that it is distracting me a little bit from my work, so that I can't be too conscious about going through my warm-ups, because I think I tend to stiffen up a lot when I start not letting myself just go through the motion. And I think that there is, for me, there's this nice calming aspect of, I'm just gonna get it done. I'm gonna be okay with making the mistakes, and I'll just make the changes later on as I see fit. Right now I'm laying out these little details in here that I probably shouldn't be, but rib cage, rib cage is angled like this. We're probably gonna wanna throw things from, you know, some kind of like gestural position. We're probably gonna wanna do, you know, a side profile from a gestural position, and not do it like, let's use him as an example. Let's say we're trying to copy this exactly, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna get his back like this, and I'm gonna get, there's a bump and a bump and a bump, and oh, I didn't align that bump with that bump right there, and it, oh, this is off. It doesn't feel like a full form if we do it like that. And you know, you get so caught up in, well, there's a bump over here and a bump over here, and it doesn't look like a full thing. And I think something that was a great epiphany for me when I started doing this was, we want to kind of ballpark and then narrow down the information. So we want to ballpark, it's going to be roughly in this area, roughly in this position, it's kind of fuzzy, and we want to narrow it down to this exact line. And then when you do that line, that's when you want to do that boldly, right? So it's roughly here. Okay, I like the way that looks. I can imagine it in my head. I can see it here. I even like that this curved this way and this curved this way. Wow, it looks like a yin yang. That's cool, right? And then I can go, okay, that's his lat right there, right? And I can go, there's the chest. And I can start to play this game of, you know, where I want to put my bold lines after I've done this. Hopefully that makes sense, and I'm not just saying sporadic things. But again, I'll check my work here with positions and proportions and specific anatomy and stuff. But right now, just getting into the flow. I put his arm back instead of down the side. I usually work from a masculine mannequin, filleted. So there's like basically, you know, same human anatomy, just different, slightly different proportion. The masculine shape is going to be a little bit upper body thicker, like upper body more dominant in proportion. But other than that, it's the same stuff, just different size, different proportion to other things on the body. So less complicated to do somebody covered in adipose tissue, aka fat tissue, because all the little deviations in the anatomy are going to not be separated. They're all just going to be uniform. So if you got somebody that has you know, a large amount of adipose on their waist, this is, you know, maybe it'll lump around and it'll clump up like cloth in the body. But you gotta know where the bones, sorry, I keep coughing, I need to drink stuff. You gotta know where some of the less fat, bonier parts of the body are, and to know where like basically fat pads are gonna sit, to make it look like it's not just, say, you know, a generic blob. Although if that's the character you're going for, maybe that's the character you're going for, you know, like that's cool too. Can be pretty fun to draw bigger models too. No hate at all. I think what really helps though is like you have to know some of the skeletal structure that's underneath to figure out where to put anchor points, I think, is a good term for them. Because it's gonna be like a sternum, right? Like there's not a lot of fat that goes here, right on the center of the rib cage. So that can be a good anchor point to play off of, you know, shoulders, up in the neck and stuff. That stuff is usually leaner. We tend to gain more weight around hips and abs, right? And then of course, like an arm, when you do an arm, you start with that general tube shape, tapering tube shape. It's thick around the shoulder, tapers down to the hand. You could do something like that to start with, just to show like the gesture, like where the arm's going. You do something like that. You can have like a side that's straighter and a side that's curvier, and that will follow a very nice flow. But then, like if you want to put some anatomy on that, you should know where the fat is going to store more, like behind the arm, around the wrist. It's going to thicken a little bit. The deltoid will be there, but it's going to be a little more hidden, and it's going to play like, until the elbow, it's going to play like a tube, and this is going to drape. You know, we should probably get some reference for stuff like that, because I haven't drawn too much of that type of figure. So I've drawn a lot more superhero-esque filleted figures, because that's just how I started drawing when I was a kid. And I'm also a trainer, so I deal with a lot of bodybuilding stuff. Athletic stuff. So enhanced, you know, what looks like an enhanced athlete on the special juice is what we're dealing with. So I'm thinking, you know, with that arm, for example, come over here, that arm, just general deltoid shape, because the arm's going to move, it's going to swivel. And I like to make the deltoid kind of pop like this. And then I saw once a link, like a chain link thing a long time ago. So it can play like with this rhythm, this pattern, I should say, which we can make rhythmical. You can play with this pattern as an arm, right? You got one link going this way, the other link flattening out, this link going this way, the other link flattening out. And that in turn becomes the deltoid is the top link going down, the bicep is the link going in, the forearm is the link going down, the hand is the link going around, or some such, whatever. However, it's just an analogy, visual analogy, so you play it however you want with that rhythm going back and forth. But that's how I tend to do it. It's like I'm looking at, like, I want a big separation under here to make it look like that deltoid is dimensional, like this, like the perspective grid. I want the stuff that's coming at me to pop forward, and I want the other stuff, I want all this to recede back as much as possible. Same thing with this trap. This is something that I most recently realized that I was doing wrong. Was I wasn't wrong for me, I should say, wrong for what I'm trying to go for. I was not dimensionalizing this area enough. Is that a word? And because of that, I would end up having like a flat spot here. So I still wanna dig into that more in my study. So that'll become a thing that I do. Once I get most of the information, I want to separate the outline from the background more than I want to continue to separate these things, because we want the whole to not be disrupted by its parts. I suppose that is one of the better ways to think about that. If I go into detail in the specific area, but I forget to put the edge on it, it might fade into the background in an obscure way that I can't tell what it is. So if I am trying to be representative, realistic about what I'm showing, I probably want to show the silhouette shape, right? I probably want to just have some idea of where the edge is. All right. So this mannequin's got a round butt. Hamstring, kneecap. I'm extending the leg longer and longer as I go on. It's definitely a problem that I have, is like if I don't feel like it's gestural enough, I end up extending it into infinity. Things to help with that are set your proportions from the start. Know where your midline is. Know where your end point is. Carve it out like a block, like Michelangelo would, right? That way you know your border. Definitely struggle with that. Anybody else struggle with the border? Where you pop off your border and did not mean to, like I did in my first portrait on this YouTube. So I did make him very bottom heavy, so I'll chisel out a little bit of that and see how that feels. Not too bad. But I think it's good to start with more and then shave off. Start with more and then shave off, right? And right now I'm just trying to catch the idea in general. So I'll do this, where I'll put top-down lighting on it. I'll do this and I'll just smudge up for now. I'll erase out later on. I just want to have some representation of this wrist. I tend to do this thing with the thumb and the finger, the forefinger, where I'll make this like this gesture with the hand. I didn't put enough thumb on that, so. Brachioradialis, deltoid, tricep. Boom, boom, boom. Who's training arms today? Butt, hip bone, corner of the hip, oblique, serratus. All right. The legs are kind of still obscure. Hip flexor, rec fem, IT band. Really need to go into this. Well, let's do this, shall we? Yes, it's backwards, making it harder. Okay, so I love this, right? Like I forgot about this gesture until just now. After seeing it, now I can go in and instead of oversimplify it, I can complexify it. I gotta look around his arm because his arm is in the way. But I tend to make this very tire-like, but on an angle. So it's a tire on an angle. And I do this. There's the IT band and the split. That's quadricep rectofemoris, and then hip bone somewhere in there, and then the hamstring is going to be back here. Two strands. I don't know which hamstring is actually thicker now that I'm looking at it. I don't know which one's bigger, which one's thicker. Fun things to find out. But yeah, taking this information, this is tapering down into a nice teardrop shape. Thank you, Steve. Teardrops, Steve Houston. One of the fundamental design ideas that Steve goes over in his Draws for Life course was the teardrop shape. A lot of muscles can become that shape, which is why I do the pumpkin, because it's this this type of bump, 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 bump idea, right? And then this isn't going to go all the way around. This one is, so it's got to be darker on the sides, right? And this isn't gonna go all the way around, so it's less dark. And then of course, it's round, so you're gonna make it look round, but there's the idea. You can hear my son playing in the other room. I'm about to go do some toddler workbook stuff. There's that hip bone really protruding on this guy. That's cool. I really want to work on this. I've done so much glute anatomy stuff, but it's still is elusive to me. I really need to do some deep anatomical study of it again. So that's on my agenda. It's not that I draw pantsless people often, but I want to know down to the bone. I want to know what's underneath the clothing, so if I do put cloth on top, I know where those folds go and they can enhance the anatomy instead of diminish it, even if it's just subconsciously that I'm doing that. That's why we study the anatomy, right? It's like, it's not because you're gonna draw crochet figures all the time, you know, even though that is a great skill set to have. It's that you want to display on the surface what is underneath. You want to bring what is underneath to the surface. So if you put a shirt on top of somebody, you know, you don't need to show their collarbone, but is the shirt pinching right where the collarbone is? Does that collar sit on the base of the neck if they got a shirt and tie or something, you know? I always use that as a point of reference for me. Right? Like, is this in the right position, in the right proportion for that mannequin? All right. So, satisfied with that enough for now. Okay. Okay. Good. Genitals, they're not tucked in between. They do hang down the center line. So I'm just showing some representation of them. We don't have to not have them there. And then the belly, yeah, that belly really rides much lower than I made it, right? That rectus abdominis, way lower than that. Boom, boom. Just do it like that for now. Put the iliac crest area, iliac oblique, boom. And then let's just dimensionalize it a little bit for now and go into greater detail later on. I'll come back to that. But that reads as a humanoid figure to me. Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna make this one a quick one today because I want to check in on my son, make sure he's good. But I'm gonna come back and do front and back of the mannequin, and then probably do some gestures if I have the time to this morning. All right. Hit me back with some questions, comments, whatever, if you guys like what you're seeing and you want me to go over something specific, or if I can help with anything that you're struggling on and you want to submit something to me, just hit me up on the DMs on the gram shoot me over what you're working on, and I'll see if I can help in some way. I'd love to make that some content because I think everybody would dig that. We can all kind of work on stuff together. I think this is the change that I would like to see in the art space, because so much of this space right now is, I meant to say this too earlier, is quick tip, I have the answer, the solution to all of the problem that you will ever have drawing. And it's like, I get it, but I think a lot of this is exploring how you see stuff, exploring how you represent what you see, and then reinventing what you know to be true into something that's more fantastical for what your flavor of life is. And I think if we forget that, it's gonna be like, well, I have to draw it this way because this guy said that this is the way to do it. So I don't think that that's the case. And I definitely do not want to come across as the authority in how to draw stuff, because man, I'm still in my infancy learning this stuff. I've been published as an artist and I still feel like it is brand new to me, honestly. So the struggle is real at all levels. It doesn't matter how much you have or have not done. It's gonna be a constant thing to explore for the rest of your life, most likely. This is just the drawing portion of a figure. You know, it's like, this is such a limited thing compared to the entirety of our reality. So good luck. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want to see. And thanks for stopping by.